Straight ahead on 12 News, need a home remodeling contractor? Meet a unique Plymouth company that has a quote for that. Then a Maple Grove business looks to Brooklyn Park to expand. But first, a defiant spirit and a Boston strong determination.
They probably had about 1 million people on the road just because it was sunny and 60 today, and they were all so encouraging.
A Brooklyn Park woman shares her story of running the Boston Marathon. 12 News starts right now. Hello, everyone. On a day filled with emotion and heavy security, more than 600 Minnesotans took part in the Boston Marathon.
That includes more than 50 runners from the Channel 12 viewing area. Nearly every city in the northwest suburbs was represented in the race. That includes 24 runners from Plymouth, 16 from Maple Grove, 6 from Golden Valley, and 5 from Brooklyn Park. Today, we heard from Chris Stephen of Brooklyn Park, who was among the more than 30,000 runners to cross the finish line.
You know, I had tears in my eyes. I thought about the people that struggled last year at the finish line and the horrible things that happened. And then I looked around and saw all the smiling faces and just the positive attitudes and excitement at the finish line this year.
Chris says it was a hot day, but she says the crowds helped get her to the finish line. This was her 3rd Boston Marathon. And more than 500 U.S. Armed Forces personnel overseas put themselves in the shoes of Boston Marathon runners.
The so-called Boston Marathon Shadow Run took place on Friday at Bagram Airfield in Afghanistan. And as Sonia Goins reports, a Plymouth man was the first to cross that finish line.
There were lots of cheers as the race gun sounded at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I think this is the flattest course I've ever seen.
The start time was a secret due to security at Bagram Airfield.
I think that the atmosphere here is a lot more fun than in the States. I mean, you got people here that really want to be here and serve their country.
Josh Peterson of Plymouth was the leader of the pack. This was his 9th marathon.
Finally getting a chance to be part of it this year was certainly something I've been looking forward to for over a year.
Peterson is no stranger to running. He's been hitting the pavement since 1999.
I went to Armstrong High School and ran cross country, did track and cross country skiing.
He also worked for the Brooklyn Center Police Department as a community service officer.
It was a great experience, and it's what kind of set me on the track to doing federal law enforcement.
Peterson now works for the U.S. Department of State, providing embassy security. He says the Boston Marathon shadow course was difficult.
Of course, there's potholes and things like that because it's a military base, and you know we're in a developing country. But it was kind of tough to see the footing for most of it because there's not a lot of lighting on the base.
The altitude was 5,000 feet. Some runners suffered from dehydration.
It's pretty much like running a marathon in Denver, only with a lot more pollution.
But this was Peterson's best race ever.
I ran the fastest time I've run in a marathon ever by about 40 seconds.
He says he remembered the 3 people killed and the 200 injured in last year's Boston Marathon.
You know, no matter what happens, you know, at the end of the day, we persevere, you know, we support each other.
This is Peterson crossing the finish line at 2 hours, 39 minutes, and 10 seconds.
This is the first one I've ever won. Usually there's a lot of professional runners out in the field, so this is a real treat for me.
Now, this is the last Boston Marathon Shadow Run affiliated with Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. The troops will be pulled out at the end of the year. Mike and Alex, Peterson is coming home for a short vacation next week. He told me he's hoping for snow.
All right, thanks a lot, Sonia. Police in Maple Grove say good surveillance video and a citizen tip helped them identify a bank robbery suspect. Last Tuesday, a robbery occurred at the Wells Fargo Bank on Bass Lake Road near 494. According to police, the robber handed a note to the teller and made off with an undisclosed amount of cash. The bank's surveillance video captured a clear picture of the suspect, and it's believed to be the same man who robbed a TCF bank in Burnsville earlier that day.
Our detectives and our officers are working hard at trying to find the person of interest so they can at least be brought in for questioning about this case.
Maple Grove police plan to release more information about the suspect soon. The suspect did not show or imply that he had a weapon, and no one was injured in the incident.
His employees call him a second dad, and today they are remembering that father figure, a Brooklyn Park man who was a well-known hardware store owner. James Hance was killed by a wrong-way driver last week. He died on his 75th birthday. Hance was the owner of Hance Hardware in Hopkins. Funeral services were held today. Jorge Juarez is accused of taking drugs when he crashed into Hance. He told police he used marijuana and took Xanax, an addictive anti-anxiety drug. Juarez was scheduled to appear in court today, and court documents show numerous driving violations on his record.
The Maple Grove City Council is closer to selecting the city's new police chief. Mayor Mark Stephenson says the council interviewed 6 candidates over the weekend. They decided to narrow the search down to 2 finalists. The council plans to interview those finalists again next weekend before making a decision. Police Chief David Jess is retiring at the end of May. He's been with the Maple Grove Police Department since 1985, and he's been chief since 2011. Brooklyn Park could soon be adding another company to its growing Highway 610 corridor.
Wurth Adams Nut and Bolt Company is outgrowing its Maple Grove headquarters, and Brooklyn Park officials say they're eyeing a vacant plot of land near Highways 169 and 610. Here's Delane Cleveland.
At first glance, the southeast corner of Highways 169 and 610 doesn't look like much. To the untrained eye, it's an open field covered with dead grass. But for Brooklyn Park city officials,
we have available land, we have quality users who are there today, and more users who are coming in.
the site represents an investment opportunity.
As we always like to say, we'll help spend other people's money. That's one of our goals.
In this scenario, the company who would be spending money is Maple Grove-based Wurth Adams Nut and Bolt Corporation. For Wurth Adams, this vacant field represents a possible future. Brooklyn Park officials say Wurth Adams will invest about $30 million into the site. They'd also relocate 88 positions from Maple Grove and create 20 additional jobs.
So to bring that investment into the community, increase our tax base, and then as well bring their employees to Brooklyn Park and continue to grow that employee base here in Brooklyn Park is really important to us.
However, the Wurth Adams relocation isn't a done deal just yet. The company is seeking a grant from the state before making a final commitment. But for Brooklyn Park, the discussion is a testament to how valuable the 610 corridor has become.
And right now, Maple Grove, doesn't have access to 610, and I think that was an important criteria. And so, the fact that we're ready for business today is a big deal. In fact, we can move very quickly and we're aggressive. Tends to help our cause a lot.
In Brooklyn Park, Delane Cleveland, 12 News.
And if all goes as planned, construction on the new Wurth Adams building in Brooklyn Park will begin this summer.
Thanks to some federal funding, dozens of Brooklyn Park kids are getting a meal that they might not otherwise receive at home. Staff at the Zanewood Recreation Center are now providing dinner to about 50 teens who come to their after-school and evening programs. The meal usually consists of a sandwich, fruit or vegetable, and a drink. The program is only in its third week, but staff know that it's filling an important void for hungry kids.
The bottom line is they need energy, they need to be fed, they need to have substance in their daily activities, and if they're going to be here, the least we can do is provide them with something to keep them going throughout the day and know that they're getting the nutrients that they need.
Chalstrom says they plan to extend the program into the summer months as well as when the need is even higher because kids aren't getting lunch at school. Still ahead, removing some of the frustration out of finding a home remodeling contractor.
We'll look at a unique Plymouth business venture up next. And then later in sports, Wayzata takes down a conference rival in boys lacrosse.
But first, cooler weather on its way. We're looking at rain showers on Wednesday that could linger into the end of the week.
High school students are increasingly pushing themselves to the limit. In fact, the number of students taking college-level courses continues to grow. At Wayzata High School, 47% of graduating seniors passed at least one college-level test. At Armstrong High School, it was 39%. The Washington Post recently included those schools on its list of America's most challenging high schools. And the most challenging school in Minnesota, at least according to the Washington Post, is St. Croix Prep Charter School in Stillwater. Well, when it comes to home improvement projects, we've all heard of jobs done poorly.
That's true, but a new business in Plymouth is trying to make sure that that doesn't happen by becoming an advocate or middleman for the customer. In this week's Business Matters, it's a concept that's catching on among homeowners grateful for the help.
That's a new personality, yeah.
Compared to the way his house used to look, Joe Baraibar says his house now has new personality thanks to new siding put on in February.
We're very proud of the way that it came out.
It could have been a different outcome.
It saved us a lot of headaches and saved us money in time.
Joe used a new Plymouth company for the project called My Three Quotes.
So we thought, wouldn't it be great if every homeowner out there had access to a free, unbiased industry expert to give them advice on both products and companies out there. There's 15 to 20 right now that are in production.
Ryan Carey started the local business last summer after working 15 years in the remodeling industry in management, sales, and production.
Just thought it would be so much better to flip this process around and have one advocate for the customer come out as opposed to 3 advocates for the contractors.
When it comes to siding, windows, or roofing projects, instead of listening to high-pressure sales pitches from different companies, Ryan steps in. He meets with homeowners for no charge, finds out what they want, takes measurements, and then submits the job request to his trusted network of contractors to get the 3 best quotes.
The company that wins the bid pays a fee back to us, which is less than what they'd normally pay to generate an appointment and pay a sales commission. So again, it works for everybody. People always ask me, is this costing me more because you're involved? And I tell them, no, it's costing you less.
In Joe Baraibar's case, the 3 quotes he got from Ryan were several $1,000s less than the contractors he interviewed on his own. And that turned Joe into a loyal fan of this new business.
Anytime that we need any other project, we know who to go to.
The My Three Quotes business also offers additional information about each contractor, including its labor warranty and its rating with the Better Business Bureau. Still ahead, a story that's likely to fire up debate, the best barbecue joints.
But first in sports, a Maple Grove softball pitcher is mowing them down this spring. John Jacobson has that and more when we come back. Well, baseball, good pitching wins games. I guess that's true for softball too, but we'll start with lacrosse, and they have high hopes for this spring.
There's a lot of talent on this Wayzata boys team this year. Some good young players, a lot of kids back, and they expect to have a good season. Wayzata's boys lacrosse team has high hopes for this spring. A veteran group with some good young talent is aiming for a state tournament berth this spring. The Trojans taking on Minnetonka in the Lake Conference battle, first quarter of this one. And a nice spin move by Adam Grooms, getting away from the defender, and he shoots and scores to make it 2-0 Trojans. Second quarter, Grooms sets up Amar Batra for the quick shot and goal. At the other end, Minnetonka with a point-blank chance with Trojans goalie Aaron Peterson with a great save. Brian Mahood had a big game for Wayzata. They'll duck a defender here and score to put the Trojans up 5-0 at halftime. Third quarter, Mahu takes a pass from Charlie Shermack and fires a quick shot. That one gives him a hat trick. He scored 4 goals on the night. Wayzata beat Minnetonka 9-3. The Trojans are now 2-0. Maple Grove's boys lacrosse team lost a close one in its season opener Saturday. The Crimson fell 9-8 at Orono. The team's first Northwest Suburban Conference game is Wednesday night at Anoka's Goodrich Field. She is the most dominant prep pitcher in the Northwest Metro. Jason Melillo has more on Maple Grove Jr. Sydney Smith.
Sydney Smith remembers watching past Maple Grove pitchers and being inspired.
Definitely when I was a 7th grader, it was the first time I saw Shannon stick a throw, and I was like, I want to be like her. Like, I want to throw and strike people out like she does.
Smith doesn't have to want to do that anymore. She does it. The Maple Grove pitcher is one of the most dominant in the state and has given up just 1 run in the Crimson's 3 games this season. All wins for MG.
Last year as a sophomore, she was 19-2, I think, is what her final record ended up being. Really eclipsed, kind of what we thought. We knew she was going to be really good, but you're never sure. A sophomore pitcher, first time, we play a pretty competitive schedule, but she handled everything. And now even this year, as you can see, some of the things she's doing coming into her junior year have been great. And that's the one really good thing about her. She's just never satisfied with being good enough. She wants to even try to be better and better and better.
Jordan Mock might be the best power hitter in high school softball this spring, and she's also been Smith's catcher since Smith's freshman year.
Even from last year to this year, her curveball, I can't even tell you the difference between the 2 of them. Her rise ball's been such a great strikeout pitch that people can't lay off it even if they know it's coming.
And Smith says Mock deserves a lot of credit for her progression as a pitcher.
It always helps to have a good catcher behind the plate because she does a lot of calling herself, which a lot of people don't see, and she's very smart. Without her, most of the strikeouts I don't think we would get because she frames really well. and she talks to umps. She's good with umps, which helps so much.
Big-time colleges took notice of Smith several years ago, and she made a quick decision to accept a scholarship from LSU. The Tigers are a perennial power in Division I softball.
You know, they definitely saw the potential. I mean, I think they saw that, you know, she was going to be a strong kid in the program, or as she kept going, I guess. She's going to be a strong kid as they kept going. But I also think her personality kind of sells people because she's just a really outgoing kid, friendly. Everybody seems to really like being around her and talking with her. And she seems super comfortable with who she is.
The coaches and everything, they fit my personality and my, like, they're like a family. And I want that when I go to college, to be like a part of a family. And the coach is also a pitching coach, which helps me because I'll be with her all the time.
When Smith gets to Baton Rouge, her days of April snowstorms and playing games in 35-degree weather will be over. But right now, Smith steps into the circle focused on leading the Crimson to a state title. Jason Melillo, 12 Sports.
The Crimson has 3 games scheduled for this week, including a home game against Coon Rapids on Tuesday. And much like baseball, anytime you get a good pitcher, and they've certainly got a great one, you've got a chance to win a lot of games.
That's right. Good place to be.
Right.
Thanks a lot, John. Coming up, a mouth-watering end to the show.
We're pitting one barbecue pit against another when we come back. Finally, a story that's sure to stoke up a fiery debate.
USA Today released its list of best barbecue chains, and 2 mentioned have locations in the northwest suburbs. Number 4 on the list is Texas-based Dickey's Barbecue Pit. Dickey's has locations in Maple Grove and in Plymouth. And number 5, according to USA Today, is Minnetonka-based Famous Dave's. As you might imagine, many of the top chains are scattered across the South. The USA Today story does focus on chains, but we also need to think hyper-local. City Pages recently placed Q Fanatic Barbecue and Grill in Champlin as the top barbecue joint for 2012. And of course, it's opinion-based, and you guys were talking about your favorite ones.
Yeah, we're always thinking, you know, I spent some time in Texas, and there's a couple places, County Line and State Line, and there's a place in Robstown where they didn't even use plates, just slap it down.
Slap it down.
How about it?
And your favorite, Jen?
Arthur's in Kansas City.
Oh,
That's a good
wow.
one.
You
It's a
guys
good
know
barbecue
your
city.
barbecue.
Yes, it is. Great.
That does it for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Stay with us. We'll be right back tomorrow. Community Corner is coming up next.